For more than 1,000 years, Chinese has been extracting this bouncy and squishy essence from flour and turning it into a staple on every Chinese table, be that vegetarian or not. This is wheat gluten, aka seitan. It's such an amazing ingredient that can take on so many forms and flavors in various Chinese cuisines. So today we want to show you two ways of how to turn this into this, and then to this and this. Before we jump into details, let's understand where does gluten come from. So in Meng Xi Bitan, a technology essay collection from the 11th century, it compared steel making to gluten making. Its author Shen Kuo wrote, "Steel is to iron as 面筋, gluten is to 面, flour. It is only after thoroughly washing the dough that gluten is revealed." This earliest written record of gluten production describes the base of gluten extraction, which is dough washing. So today we'll follow suit by making a gluten base by washing a dough, and then we'll turn it into two forms using that extracted base. Before we get started, let's have a high-level overview. So first, we'll mix flour with water and let it autolyse. Then we'll knead the dough and let it rest. Next up, wash the dough. After a couple wash, we'll have our gluten base ready. With this gluten base, we can start playing with it. For the firm style, we'll shape and cook directly. Then we'll use it as an ingredient, shred it, blanch it, toast it, and stir fry it. For the spongy style, we'll ferment it and steam it. Then with this as an ingredient, we'll tare it, blanch, deep fry, and braise. And now let's show you how to do it. Let's make our dough first by adding 2 grams salt and 275 gram water to 500 gram AP flour. Mix into a rough ball, cover, and let it sit for 40 minutes to autolyse. And 40 minutes later, come back. Knead it for about 8 minutes to help further develop the gluten, then cover and let it rest for 15 minutes. So after the resting, we can start washing our dough. So just add in a cup of water. Keep kneading your dough inside the water till the liquid turns this thick and milky texture. Reserve that water aside and add in another cup of water. Repeat this process 5 to 6 times till the liquid turns into this watered down milk consistency. Then we have our gluten base ready. So we'll need to let it rest and drain in a strainer for at least 20 minutes before doing anything. So now just cover it and let your gluten just chill out a little bit. After the gluten is relaxed a bit, we can make it into the style we want. So here I'm gonna take half of it and make the firm one first. So just cut your gluten into 2 to 3 pieces, massage it and press and shape it into logs like this. Put it on a plate and cover, then let it relax for another 10 minutes. After that time, come back, take your now very soft and bendy gluten, cut it in half if it's too long, then wrap it around a chopstick to shape, or around a bamboo skewer if you want to grill it on fire directly later. And now finish shaping it, pinch tight on both ends, then we can cook them. So to a pot of boiling water, toss in your gluten sticks. Cover, let it cook on medium-high for 12 minutes, then take it out to cool down. And this is our 水面筋, the most basic blanched gluten. And now with this as an ingredient, let's turn it into a night market classic stir fry that tastes like Chinese barbecue. And because gluten always tastes better if you tear it up to create some more raggedy surface for flavor to stick, so just tear your gluten into about ½ centimeter wide and 2-inch long edge strings like this. See, another must for prepping gluten is blanching to get rid of that kind of off sourness taste, especially if you are using ready-made ones. So now just toss in your shredded gluten into a pot of boiling water, let it boil for about a minute, then take it out, strain, let it cool down a touch, then give it a squeeze to get rid of that excess liquid. So you can stir fry this directly right now. But another trick of making gluten taste even better, aka meat-like, is toasting it. To do so, just heat your wok piping hot and do not add in any oil yet. And then just sprinkle your gluten strings into the wok and form a even layer. Then heat on medium high. Let it toast for 1 minute on one side, then stir to flip, then toast the other side. Scrape off the bits that's sticking to your wok, and when the gluten got some nice browning like this, we can move on. So just add in 1.5 tablespoon oil, toss in 2 cloves of roughly minced garlic, fry it till fragrant, then add in 1 teaspoon of cumin and half teaspoon 花椒 Sichuan peppercorn, both roughly crushed in a mortar. Fry them all together till it smells awesome. Then add in 2 medium green chilies and a quarter onion, both cut into strips, and give them a quick fry. Then mix everything up in the wok. After a quick 30-second fry, add in half teaspoon each 5 spice powder and chili powder. Give it a quick mix. Then swirl in 1 teaspoon soy sauce. Sprinkle in with a quarter teaspoon each sugar, salt, MSG. Mix everything well. Heat off and out. Now this night market classic drinking food is done. Next, let's turn our other half of the gluten into 烤麸, spongy gluten, which is literally a sponge for all your sauces. So now take the relaxed gluten, mix in a quarter teaspoon sugar and 1/8 teaspoon yeast. The sugar here is not really for flavor, but more for providing energy for the yeast so that it can grow. So just fold the sugar and yeast until you can't feel any graininess. Then shape it into a ball. Put it in an oiled bowl, cover, and let it ferment for 1 hour. And 1 hour later, place your bowl of gluten on a steaming rack in a pot of boiling water. Cover and let it steam on medium-high for 16 minutes for this size. After it's done steaming, turn off the heat and let it cool down inside for at least half an hour. And when it's cooled down to touch, take it out and remove the gluten from the bowl. And with that, your 烤麸 spongy gluten is done. With this one, we are gonna make a classic Shanghai dish called 四喜烤麸, which is a sweet and savory braise that uses this 烤麸 gluten and 4 other ingredients. Thus the name 四喜, which means 4 joys. So first, tear your 烤麸into half-inch pieces, then toss them into a pot of boiling water. Let it cook for 1 minute, take it out, give it a rinse to cool down. Then gently but firmly squeeze out as much water as possible because we are gonna deep fry next. Since there is so much water in it, we are gonna add the gluten in with cool oil and heat them up all together so that the water doesn't create a disaster when we put it in if the oil's really hot. So now heat on medium, heat up the oil and keep stirring the gluten gently to prevent sticking. Turn your heat lower if the oil bubbles get obviously angry and just keep frying it on a relatively low heat till it turns into this light brown color. Now take it out, strain the oil, and now we can start the braise with the 四喜 4 ingredients, namely shiitake mushroom, lily bulb, wood ear, and peanut. But you do want to reconstitute these 4 ingredients beforehand, so just soak all 4 ingredients respectively in cool water for 3 hours. And then remove the stem of the shiitake and cut into about half-inch chunks. Tear your wood ear into same size each pieces. Align the lily bulb and cut off the hard end. And of course, reserve the shiitake soaking liquid and discard any sediment. So to our frying wok, just use that nice oil coating from deep frying the kaofu earlier. Heat on medium-high, quickly fry the shiitake mushroom till fragrant, then heat it with the mushroom soaking liquid. And now add in all the other 3 ingredients plus the kaofu gluten. Top it up with more water so that everything's basically submerged. Then add in 2 tablespoons soy sauce, 1 teaspoon dark soy, and 4 teaspoons sugar because it's Shanghai food after all. Now cover, bring it to a boil, and let it braise on medium-low for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, come back. Give it a taste to see if it needs more salt. For us, I added in a 1/4 teaspoon each salt and MSG. Now just turn the heat to high, let it rapidly boil for a couple more minutes or until the sauce thickens a bit and start to have a light sheen. At this point, shut off the heat. Take it out, and with that, your 4xi kaofu is done. You can eat it right away as a hot dish, or you can just let it cool down and eat it as like a cold dish. Both would be great. So right, these are 2 ways of making gluten, 水面筋 and kaofu. You can make it ahead, that is after blanched or steamed, and store it in the freezer and use it whenever you want. As for the starch liquid, you can let it sit for at least 5-6 hours, then toss the yellowish water on top of it and pour that batter into a very wide flat plate and just put it under the sun and let it dry up. And after it dries up, that white chunks that you left in the plate, those are weak starch. You can just pulse it into a powder and just use as you would with weak starch. And as always, check out the recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon, and of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking